At the age of 15, I decided to apply for my first job, the flying role. Here in this little country western restaurant, I gained my server wings. 9 years later, I'm still in the industry and now take on the position as a bartender at a local watering hole. I fell in love with the luster of restaurants 9 years ago, and I still love everything about my work. From the people to the music, the laughter, the smiles, I get to make people happy. However, every day cannot be a walk in the park. As a bartender, I make $2.13 an hour, and therefore I do not receive a paycheck every 2 weeks. Many people assume that I do and therefore disregard the tip section on the credit card receipt. This happens more than people are aware of, and every time I see a zero left in that space, my car, my house, my insurance, my daily expenses are all being jeopardized. That is why I feel it is important to let you all know today why and how you should tip your bartenders. If you enjoy dining out or going for cocktails for the evening, there are a few things that you should consider before leaving the house. As I stated before, the hourly pay of a bartender or server is below minimum wage. And those wages don't even cover the amount of taxes we're to pay on the hours that we work throughout the week. Think about it. People are barely making it on $7.25 an hour. You may think that since times are rough, you are not inclined to tip, but in the end, you're hurting us more than it's hurting you. We do not work for free, and we have bills just like everybody else. And in addition, I would like all you to know and keep in mind that a portion of our daily salary is also shared with other personnel, hostesses, bussers, barbacks. Generally, this amount is 3 to 10% depending on the restaurant, and this is of total sales. And it's being tipped out, as we call it in the service industry. This can be very stressful, seeing money that you worked very hard for leaving your hands at the end of the night. Brian Miller writes in the spring 2010 issue of Food Service Business Research that job-related stress increases for individuals who occupy positions that are compensated through tips. The stress only starts here. Let me break it down for you a little further. In Texas, if a percentage of my sales for the week between 8 and 15% average minimum wage or higher, employers are not required to additionally compensate me. And this is regardless of what I actually made in tips. The Baltimore Sun, January 6, 2010, explained it this way. Say a server or bartender makes $2,100 in sales a week. And let's say they make 20% tips all week. Okay, so that's $420. But let's not forget the 3 to 10% that has to be tipped out to other personnel. Let's not forget that we're not receiving a paycheck. So this means if you don't tip, that we're paying on taxes for the cost of your meal. We're paying for you to enjoy yourself. Is it starting to make sense now? We work for tips. Okay, so now you have a little background on our salary, but do you know how to tip? According to Steve Vidback, a research associate at the New Zealand Institute for the Study of Competition and Regulation, a standard tip ranges from 15 to 20% depending on the quality of service. With the help of these guidelines I'm going to offer you today, you should be better prepared for the next time you enjoy a night out on the town. Okay, so we've all had to wait forever to be seated once in a while. And I want to tell you not to take out those frustrations of waiting on your server or bartender once you've been seated. I say this because it happens all the time and the tip is generally reflected. Always keep in mind that 3 to 10% of your total bill is being paid to the hostess that you were originally frustrated with. And in addition to wait time, messed up orders can occasionally or frequently happen depending on where you visit. So you ordered a steak medium rare, it comes out medium well. Geesh, not cool, nobody wants a medium well steak. So in order to fix the kitchen's mistake, we must plead and do everything possible to keep that customer happy. However, many times, the customer does not understand that it was not our mistake, but the kitchen's. What now? Are you going to be rude and hateful all night for the rest of the evening because your order came out wrong? Or are you going to realize that it was an honest mistake by the kitchen? Don't forget that fact. And still tip them accordingly. Of course you are, because that's what good patrons do. Tipping is like the classic 80s Donna Summer song. She works hard for the money, so hard for it, honey. So you better treat her right. Okay. You're probably thinking, what if I get downright downright awful service? Well, as my mother always told me, everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind, always. Think about it. Have you ever had a bad day at work? I'm sure the answer to that question is yes, because everybody does. Jamie Simmerman, an author for Moneyming, a personal finance blog, says, and I quote, "Leaving a pleasant note of encouragement or a decent tip may be enough to turn that server's day around. We should always do unto others as you would have them do unto you." Now that I have given you the how and why on tipping, you should be better prepared to tip your bartender or server next time you plan on going out. In the article, Why Tipping is the Best Investment Ever, Jim Wang says, and I quote, "When you tip someone, you create a relationship with that service provider that puts you ahead of anyone else who hasn't tipped. Whether it's just $1 at the bar, a few bucks for the attendant who brought your bags to the room, or a little bit more than 10 to 15% on your restaurant bill, a tip puts you ahead. When you are ahead, you create a relationship that separates you from the pack. And although it's paramount to live economically in these days, tipping is not an area in which you should be trimming your budget. Surely today, I've either persuaded you or fortified the thought that tipping is a great thing and how a little can mean a lot.